Hey, what the hell are you doing walking around dressed like Star Wars?
It's Comic-Con, you idiot. We're going to the Javits Center.
Well, you're the idiots, because you three guys would never be walking together.
Yeah, you're his boss, and you two guys are enemies.
Yeah, bite me, Captain Kirk.
Hey, whoa, come on. No, that's Star Trek.
Yeah, that's two different franchises.
Yeah, sorry, guys. She doesn't know.
Nah, it's okay. I'm sorry you have to deal with that.
Let's go.
Oh, hey, come on. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it. Not worth it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fanzone Debate. We're here for a big one. We got the title match. Kirk Kowalkowski, after winning his belt back at the end of last season, he's going up against Amaru Moses. Very exciting stuff. Amaru, here's how he got here. He took on Robert Kastner. Very close match. Very good match. He beat him, went into the number one contenders match to beat Andrew James Barr. Pretty decisive fashion in that one, avoiding the speed round, which I know Rue also loves. So Rue getting his shot here today against Kirk. They've played before. It hasn't gone Rue's way, but we know this. Kirk is one of the best of all time, but he could still fall, and he's done it in title matches. He's done it in not title matches. So it is possible to take him out. And forgot to mention this too, Rue won the last word event. So he's got another shot in his back pocket, even other than this one. So very exciting stuff, but never count out Kirk. It's going to be really exciting. I got Mark and Brian here to judge this one with me, but as Kirk recently said in a Fandom Fights match, I don't let you guys talk anymore. So we're going to bring in the players and get this started. Here's how it's going to work. You guys drafted categories. We gave you questions based on those categories, and you're going to debate those questions tonight before our very souls. So you are each going to get a 1-minute opening, followed by a 5-minute freeform, followed by a 1-minute closing. At the end of the debate, Mark, Brian, and I will write on our handy-dandy boards who we thought won the question. 2 out of 3 votes wins you the point. And because this is a title match, first person to 4 points, I had to think about that for a second, mathed him, is the winner. So players, any questions on how it's going to go tonight in this here title match?
We don't get to talk anymore either.
No.
Oh, man. Rue had so many nice things to say about you.
All good. Ready to go.
All right, let's do it. Here we go. All right, we're going to kick this title match off with the first category, which was drafted by Kirk. It is in the category of directors. Your question is, which Scorsese character has the best ending to their story? Kirk, because you drafted this, you get to go first. You have 1 minute to open your argument when you start.
Best ending to a character in a Scorsese movie, I went with Nicky Santoro in Casino. If you've seen it, I don't have to explain it to you because it is obviously burned in your brain, but it is a scene at the end where Nicky is with his friends and he gets ambushed, him and his brother, and he's forced to watch his brother be brutally beaten to death, and afterwards is killed himself, beaten to death himself, and then actually buried alive. And Scorsese used some really cool techniques in this. I love that he takes the narration, the shifting narration from Goodfellas, puts it in here, and Nicky is actually interrupted mid-narration, screams out in his narration as he's attacked, and it really brings the audience into that scene and into that moment and makes you experience and focus on it. So it's not only a great ending for the character of Nicky, but it's a great ending for the audience experience as well.
Okay, ending about 10 seconds early. We're going to move over to Mr. Moses. Rue, you now have 1 minute to open your argument when you start talking.
The last words we hear Fast Eddie Felson say in The Color of Money is, "Hey, I'm back." And those words exactly explain why he has the best ending to his story, because for 2 movies, we have been with him. And in this one, he is down, he is beaten, he's been played, and has everything he has ever wanted in that room, and he has earned it. He has his woman by his side. He has both of his proteges, his hustling protege in Carmen and his pool protege in Vincent, sitting next to him, getting ready to play him and saying, "Hey, What are you going to do when I kick your ass? And Fast Eddie says, I'm going to get right back up and let you kick it again. And then a month from now in Dallas, I'm going to beat you then. And then Carmen jokes with him, it's Houston, not Dallas. He says, I don't care. Dallas, Houston, whatever. And if you beat me then, I'm going to beat you again a month later, because he has got his mojo back. He's got his suspenders and his shades, and he feels like he is the greatest because he has his passion back. He has his woman. He has his proteges, and he has earned it. They didn't just let him win a match. They didn't try to twist the story and let him lose a match. They got him to a space where he's feeling great about himself, and you are like, fuck yeah, Fast Eddie. Let's go.
All right, guys, 5-minute freeform. When one of you starts talking, please remember, respect your opponent. Okay, please, my God, let them talk. If you don't let them talk, I'm going to throw up the let your opponent talk, and I'll be sad. Don't make me do it. Okay, 5-minute freeform, but one of you starts talking.
I would say my biggest problem with this, and I love the movie, but I've never liked the ending. And my problem is this. I think you have the perfect ending with Eddie when he finds out that Vincent played him. That's the perfect conclusion to his arc, because the entire movie he's trying to get Vincent there, where Vincent doesn't care about winning, doesn't care about being the best. He cares about the money. He cares about playing the game and playing that game. And finally, Vincent learns that lesson, but it's against Vincent. So for Vincent, or against Eddie. So for Eddie to have to endure that Pyrrhic victory where he did what he set out to do, but it's against him, it's much more of a downer ending. But I think it's a much more interesting ending, where the ending we get where he says, I'm back, but basically he admits to Tom Cruise, to Vincent, I'm just going to be your punching bag. I'm going to let you beat me over and over and over again. And it's kind of sad when you think about it.
But the entire movie, you watch him trying to make Vincent better by letting himself down the entire time, to the point when he tries to make a comeback. When his wife, when his woman is telling him you should go do that, when he's trying to make a comeback, he got played himself. But instead of saying, "Oh my God, I got played," he realizes, "Wait a second, I got my passion back. I got who I wanted to be better at it to play me. And now not only is my protege better, but I feel better about it because I'm doing better. It's better for both of them, not just for Vincent. And I think that's better for him. In what way? Either for Nikki or for the audiences, this is another narrated ending for another surprise killing for the exact same actor, for the exact same character, in damn near the exact same way. Any better of an ending than the one he already did in Goodfellas. The audience is sitting there once he gets in the cornfield and says, "Oh, I know exactly what's going to happen because this happened to Joe Pesci back in Goodfellas." And at least in Goodfellas, I got the feeling of how it felt when Robert De Niro was banging the telephone, because you were actually surprised. In this one, there's no surprise because you know it's already coming. And the character himself was watching his brother get beat to death. How was that good for him?
It's not best ending. It's not happiest ending. It's best ending. I'm going with best ending narratively, and I think it's superior. It's definitely a surprise. He's literally in mid-narration. Whoever in the movie has gotten killed while they were in the middle of a narration, and the narration stops while he's doing it. It's a surprise for the character, a surprise for us. Here's the beauty of it. This entire movie, we have been watching Nicky be violent, be destructive, torture people, betray his friends, and we want to see him get his comeuppance. But at the same time, we have been entertained by everything he's done. When he pops the dude's head out in the vice, we cringe, but we also giggle. So the movie, like I said, it brings you into his headspace when the attack starts, and the movie says, "Okay, you want his comeuppance? Here it is. You want to see all this violence? Here it is." And just as he's forced to watch his brother get beat, we are forced to watch this horrific scene happen. And just as as he's begging for it to stop, we are begging for it to stop as well. But it doesn't, and we have to see the whole thing out. So not only is it a great narrative ending for this character, it is also a great narrative experience for us to watch as the audience.
If you say everything you said until the end, where you said we have to force to watch, and you replace Nicky's name with Tommy, we would have Goodfellas. And that is the reason why we are going in the middle of a narration. We have been enjoying Tommy torture people and shoot people in the foot and be entertained after he's tortured and killed and hurt and beat people to death. And we want to see him get his comeuppance. And what better way to when we think he's getting made, and then all of a sudden, just like in the middle of his narration, we had instead of getting a narration from what's his face in Goodfellas, Scorsese wanted to slightly differentiate it. we get in the middle of Tommy's scene, him go, oh, shh, while he's getting shot, and we're actually surprised. When we see it in Casino, it's like, oh, we've seen this already in Goodfellas. While for Fast Eddie, we are so happy not only for Vincent, but we are also happy for Fast Eddie, and that's the best in every way possible.
I'm not going to argue Goodfellas. You had the opportunity. If you think that's a better scene, you could have picked it because it's also they're both better than yours.
Not at all.
I said, Eddie is just sad at the end. Like you said, he got played. Before he got played by Amos, he was feeling good about himself. He was ready to go. And then he got played once. And he was in depression for weeks and months. And he just completely lost it. How is he going to feel after he loses to Vincent 1 time, 2 times, 5 times, 10
That's
times?
when
you think
know
that
somebody
mojo is
has
going to
fire.
keep up? It's not. He's going to. He's going to lose it. The same thing's going to happen to him.
The entirety of the movie, he has felt like a sad sack up until that point. But you see the shade, you see the suspenders, you see the little smile on his face, you see the woman by his side.
All that before he played Amos. You saw all that before he played Amos. He was ready to go. He's feeling good about himself. He was back in the game. He got played once, and it devastated with him.
And then
it's
he
going to
got
devastate
played
again. We lose to Vincent. It's not a happy ending. It's a pretty pathetic sad ending.
And then he got played, and you thought he would go down, but he went up, and that's so good.
Okay, Rue, we're going to start with you. You have 1 minute to open your argument, or close your argument, sorry, when you start talking.
You have been with Fast Eddie for 2 movies, and in this movie, you keep seeing him trying to prop up Vincent and beating himself down the entire time. And it just keeps happening and happening where he feels worse and worse because Vincent isn't getting it. And then Vincent finally gets it, and he's like, all right, cool. And then let me try to get back myself. And then he gets played, and you think he's going to go the exact same way and be sad, just like the movie. But no. He's got his swagger back. He's got the shades. He gets beat. He goes up the stairs, and his woman is right there. Are you ready? Let's do this. He's like, no. Let me get Vincent. Let me get Carmen. Bring your ass in here. I don't care if you beat me now. I don't care if you beat me then. I'm gonna keep coming. He has his passion back for the hustle. He has his passion back for the game, and he has his passion for his people around him. And there's nothing better for that, not only for him, but for the audience. While as in Nicky in Casino, for the character, the best ending for their story should be a good one. He watched his brother get tortured. But even if you want to go the other way, we saw the entire damn thing in Goodfellas, and we know exactly what's going to happen in that cornfield.
All right, let's bring in Mr. Kowalkowski. You have 1 minute to close when you start talking.
Rue says that through 2 movies, Eddie keeps trying to get himself up, and gets beat back down. Why do we think just because the credits roll, this time it's going to stick? He says himself, I'm going to let you keep beating me. I'm going to be your punching bag. The movie ends with Eddie in purgatory. He's Sisyphus rolling the boulder up the hill. That's not a good ending. That's not a good ending for the character. The better ending would have been if it would have ended with him realizing he did the right thing with Vincent, but it cost him. That would have been the better, more interesting ending. As he keeps trying to bring up Goodfellas, it's a completely different situation. Narratively, it's different. We see that through Jimmy's perspective. This one we have to watch. We are forced to watch from Tommy's perspective. All that stuff that's built up, all his guilt through it, and all our guilt through watching him is built up through that gratuitous violence, that Scorsese gratuitous violence used for a beautiful reason, as we see that it all pays off there. So it's not about the happiest, and it's the best, most like ending that is so iconic, burn everybody's brain. Beautiful ending.
Time. Okay. Gonna bring in the judges.
This is a fun and familiar feeling.
I don't want to make things awkward, but I saw both of them looking at notes on their desk in front of them during this match.
We can do that.
Oh my God. Okay. Okay. Good start. I was downing popcorn the whole time. It was so intense. I went with Kirk. Here's why. I thought that Rue did a very good job of explaining to me his view on Eddie's ending and why it is a really good ending for Eddie. I did not feel like Rue's takedowns of Kirk's character in Casino being his main hitting point being that it's similar to the one in Goodfellas. I just didn't feel like it was very strong. And I felt like Kirk did an excellent job of talking about why his character in Casino, while it's not a happy ending, but it's a really good ending for that character, for the audience, and it's surprising and different. And that Goodfellas actually didn't matter into the argument. I thought that worked really well. So I gave it to Kirk. Mark, your thoughts?
Oh yeah. Same. I also went with Kirk. Somewhat similar to it. I feel like at the end of the day, I kind of lean more towards the attacks, and I feel like Kirk's attacks on Rue's argument were just better. Especially at the end where he kind of turned his argument around on him. Like, hey, like you mentioned that, yeah, like your character has been had 2 movies of trying to get back up. Like, why is it all of a sudden going to be different at the end of this second film? Of like, and it doesn't really necessarily feel like a happy ending. It just feels like a kind of bummer ending.
Okay, Brian, your vote doesn't count. Where would you have gone and why?
Actually, with Amaru. For me, I thought they both did a great job of, pitching their sides, and they both did a great job of kind of countering the other person's points. But the one thing is when Rue brought up the whole thing about it's so similar to Goodfellas, and Kirk just said, I'm not going to argue that, which he just left out there uncountered. This is a point basically that Rue made, and he's not going to argue against it. So I thought that if I needed a deal breaker, that was kind of the one that tipped the scales.
Okay. All right. Well, Kirk wins the first point. We are going to move on to the next question, which was drafted by Rue in the category of, if I can find it, family films, family or animated films. Which 2024 non-fandom family or animated movie should more people see? Rue, you get to kick this one off. You have 1 minute to open your argument when you start talking.
Of the 5 animated movies that got nominated for Oscars, you've heard of Inside Out 2. You've heard of Wild Robot. If you've not seen the new Wallace and Gromit, you've heard of those characters before. And because it won it, and because it was so close between that and Wild Robot, you've either seen Flow or you know what Flow is and are going to go see it. The last one, you have no idea. Probably don't even know the name of it if you didn't look at the answers. Memoir of a Snail. More people need to go see that, not only because technically is it a beautiful stop motion animated film. It is beautifully voice acted, especially by Sarah Snook. It is an adult themed animated film that is about real life, about tragedy, but most important, it's about resilience. And more people need resilience in their life. It's about a little girl, a woman who has lost her mother, lost her father, lost her brother, gets divorced, goes through depression, and through everything, through all of it, whether it's through herself, whether it's through friends, whether it's after depression, she comes back from it. It's dark, it's hilarious, it's adult themes, it's about real life, and you come away taking something from it.
Time. Okay. We're going to move over to Kirk. Kirk, you have 1 minute to open your argument when you start talking.
I picked the other choice. I went with Flow for 2 reasons. One, because of the wide audience this movie can reach and the amount of people who can appreciate it, and also because of what this movie accomplished. I think if you're an adult who wants to look at beautiful animation and just appreciate the themes of these existential themes of survival and unity and this symbiotic relationship between all living things that is in this movie, I think that's there for you. If you're a child and you just want to see an animal adventure and get introduced to those themes that I'm talking about, and also start to realize, hey, maybe there's more out there than Pixar and DreamWorks and Disney. There's more out there to explore. Also, this is the first independent movie to ever win the Best Animated Oscar. It was made with free software. So I think just the idea of people watching this and being inspired, animators and filmmakers in general, seeing this and saying, "Hey, what can I make? What can I do?" I think the ability this movie will have to inspire people to create more things is another reason why it definitely needs to be seen more.
Time. Okay. Excellent choices, gentlemen. 5-minute freeform when one of you starts talking.
If people have seen Flow and they know about it, they're definitely not researching what inspires them to go do it. Memoir of a Sale is also an indie film that is made with rickshaw money, whatever. But more importantly than that, two reasons I don't think Flow should be the pick here. One, logistically, again, people have seen it now. They know what it is. Outside of that, the people who actually want to go see it, if you want to try it, if you are not into animals, and you are not into a animation style that actually kind of hurts your eyes, you're going to be sitting watching animals not talk in a disaster of a large wave that you can't really connect with if you are not really into the characters. Memoir of a Snail is about real life and real tragedy and takes the humor of it and makes you feel so seen and so heard and makes you continue to say, if she can get through all of this, I can get all of it. And nobody has heard of it. So people need to see that. Teenagers need to see how to get past these kind of things. Flow, maybe you see it, maybe you don't. You're not going to go away with any kind of real thing after that because it feels like a Saturday morning cartoon.
There's tons of things in this movie to connect to. I mean, the characters don't speak, but there's still, like I said, the way they act, the way they interact. There's a lot of things to learn there, and I think these are adult themes too that children can see. Your movie, like you said, who's going to see my movie? If no one wants to look at grotesque animation and just deformed people, they're not going to want to watch your movie. Again, who is yours for? Like you said, you have adult themes, you have sex, you have nudity, you have drug use, but also you have very childlike, infantile animation. So there's really not a who's the audience for your movie. I think my movie is beautiful. I think there are characters, there's themes to connect to, there are characters and themes to. If you're an adult and you see the parable there of these animals and you can connect to that, or if you're a child and you just like to watch cartoon animals, there's that too. Nobody speaks, there's no language barrier, there's no culture barrier. Anybody in the world can watch this, and more people need to watch it because it can be enjoyed by all of them.
You're talking about ugly stop on the motion animation that has been made for movie after movie after movie, and it is actually a unique take on it. So you're looking at it and you're very interested. It's for all of these adults that don't think that animated movies are for children. It's for people who love animation. It's for anybody that's been through anything in their life, because you connect to this character who has lost their mother. Many people have lost their mother, who then lost their father, who tried nothing but to love them. Many people have done that, who've been separated and have had to found family, and who have felt depressed about themselves through the actual life of getting married and then getting divorced, through people who are taking advantage of them. There are millions of people who go through that every day, and watching that and seeing the resilience that comes out of Sarah Snook's character, to see how much, no matter what is going on, you can find the silver lining. That is why you go see that. When it comes to Flow, you have to get through at least the first 10 to 15 minutes of the cat just walking around. And if you don't care about those animals, if you really don't care about this unique style, and you don't know how it looks, you don't even get to those parables you're talking about.
I want to talk for a while. You're talking about these movies. Box Trolls, My Life as a Cucumber have all done those exact stories with exact style of animation. There's nothing special about your movie. I want to talk about one thing in particular. I'm watching, so like, this movie seems familiar. This is a lot like Mary and Max. So I go and look, same director, same story. It's about a young girl who's an outcast and made fun of because of physical deformity, and who gets married and whose husband betrays her. It's the same story, and that's a better movie. It's got better animation, handles the themes better. It's got a much better voice cast. Tony Collette and Philip Seymour Hoffman. If I'm going to see anybody, more people need to see that. More people need to see anything. More people need to see that. And again, like I said, my movie, you're talking about getting through all that stuff. Yeah, you have 15 minutes looking at some of the most beautiful, breathtaking animation you've ever seen in your life. That's a real hardship. People are going to have a hard time doing that. As you go through, you're learning these characters. You're connecting with these characters. This capybara. Again, they're just animals. And like I said, if you're a kid and you want to see it just on that level, you can. But there's so many other themes in there, adult-oriented themes. There's a subtle environmental message in there. There's a lot of things in this movie mixed in. Just because there's no dialogue, people can still connect to it.
You want to talk about the animation being ugly and everything. You want to talk about Mary and Max. No one has seen that. This is another film that shows, hey, you should see this, then you should see Mary and Max, then you should see all these movies that are absolutely amazing. But this first one into it is the one that got nominated for Best Animated Feature because of how great these themes are. Not only is it themes of resilience and going through stuff, you have all the themes of adolescence with her caring, environmentalism that you think you have, caring for the snails, caring for all of that. The problem, again, with Flow is, again, this animation style feels a lot like a video game, and a lot of people don't actually like it. You call it beautiful. I call it something hard to look at because it is so, it's
Bro, do you see the characters in your movie and how hard they're looked at? They're hideous.
That is your opinion.
It's your opinion about the video game thing.
Okay. Kirk, we're starting with you. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
As I've stated, Mary and Max is derivative. We've seen it from the director himself. We've seen it in a million other movies use this animation and tell these kind of stories of outcasts and growing up and discovering yourself. It's been done in cartoons ad nauseum forever. This movie is bringing nothing new. This is a situation of diminishing returns. On the flip side, Flow, like I said, this is a movie I'm excited to see what Flow inspires, what it does, taking something so cheap and so small and making something beautiful and great out of it. Again, Rue, let's talk about adult themes. Memoir Snell has a cartoon boob and a claymation boob. Fantastic, hilarious. It handles those adult themes in a very childlike manner, where Flow has some very heady themes in it that if you want to grasp onto it. But again, if you just want to watch a cartoon about a cat on a boat with a bunch of his friends, it's there too. More people need to see it because it's such an accessible movie. So many people worldwide can watch this and enjoy it and be inspired by it.
Time. All right, let's move over to Rue. Amaru, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
These movies have been done over and over again because the people who have seen it have been yelling from the rooftops about how you should see these stop motion animation, how you should be seeing movies like Mary and Max and Memoir of a Snail, because nobody keeps going to see them because they think it's too indie and they never heard of it. But when they finally see it, they say how beautiful it looks, how much those themes resonate with them, how it resonates with absolutely everybody, how the voice acting is amazing. And it is proven, whether my opinion or his opinion is believed, it is proven over and over. That's why it keeps getting made. Flow's animation has not been proven. And I have heard many people look at that, like he looks at Across the Spider-Verse and say, ooh, that's a little bit, it's hard to look at. So when you try to look at it and you say, oh, okay, that's cool. What's happening here? All right, I don't like animals. I don't like just no dialogue. I'm a little bored here. When are we getting to something happening? That's the issue with Flow. That is the big issue with Flow, on top of the fact that all the people who have heard about it have now seen it. Nobody's seen Memoir of a Snail.
All right. Bring in the judges. Except for the fact that you were there. Switch it. Okay. Okay. I'm ready. I think. Brian, are you ready?
I think so.
Okay, go ahead.
I think so. I don't know.
This is close. This is how I feel.
Yeah, this was tough. I loved Flow. I have not seen Memoir of a Snail. Not that interested in it, honestly. So I thought anywhere where this would probably go for me, but obviously I listened to the argument. I did end up going with Rue, because I think that Kirk, a lot of his argument to me was why it would appeal to more people. He goes, if you're kids and just want to see, animals in the boat, then it appeal to them, and all different kind of people it would appeal to. But as opposed to where I think Rue did a better job of telling me, why people should see this, why there's all these themes that will resonate, and the things you can learn about and feel and identify with. And so I just thought, in terms of what was better for the question, I went with Rue.
Okay. I went with Kirk. I also have seen Flo and have not seen Memoir of a Snail. Memoir of a Snail is one of 3 Oscar-nominated movies from this year I did not see. I just didn't get around to it. I want to see it. And in all transparency, Rue made me want to see the movie more. But based on the arguments, I went with Kirk. And I think the reason why was that I thought that Kirk it was similar to the last question, did a really good job of taking down Rue's points against Flo. I thought that, Kirk Rue throughout the animation doesn't look good, and you saying the stop motion, that's just your opinion, and Kirk was like, well, you saying my animation is bad, it's just the opinion. Like, I thought Kirk had an answer for everything Rue said, so both made me want to see, again, I've seen Flo, but Rue made me really want to see Memoir of a Snail. But I thought Kirk did a good job of explaining to me why, like, taking down Rue's arguments, but also saying just like, okay, yeah, there's adult themes in it, but like, it's not anything that's like there's a boob in it. Like, it's crude, but like he said, like, oh, there's a boob in it, like, cool. And like, he pointed out all the things in Flow that could attract to a really huge, large audience. And I thought that worked for me. Mark, your thoughts? I'm distraught. What do you think?
We got 3 guys who have seen Flow and haven't seen Mars and Snail. Well, yeah, I did end up going with Rue on this one. This point there. I feel like for me, because again, this was really close. And then at a point, like, Kirk kind of had it, and I feel like there was maybe a point where he was really swinging when he brought up, I don't know, like this Memoir of Snail. It's kind of like Max and Mary, and then Rue kind of came back to the point. Well, nobody's seen that either. like neither of these are like super well known movies in general, and it's something that still more people need to see. And I did kind of like the point he hammered throughout was like, well, it's the less so the animation, but at the very least, like, there's no dialogue, and it like all this stuff, like, it feels like there are more barriers for Flow than there are for Memoirs of a Snail.
Okay. All right. Well, Rue wins the point, and we are moving on to the next question. So it is all tied up 1-1. Your next question, gentlemen. It's coming in the category of whatever James Bond is in. Oh, wait. It's Jimmy B, James Bond. Your question is, what is the most exciting action scene featuring a Bond girl? Kirk, you get to kick this one off. You have 1 minute when you start talking to open your argument.
I picked the motorcycle chase in Tomorrow Never Dies. Wei Lin, played by Michelle Yeoh, is handcuffed to James Bond. They steal a motorcycle, and they are off to the race. There's a big chase scene. First of all, they've been kind of enemies up to this point. Not necessarily enemies, but not working well together. And this is where they start to kind of like come together, and it's exciting to see them and that tension and that heat between them. But then they're working together on this motorcycle. She has to keep moving around to see different things, get in position. They're driving together, left, right, clutch, working together. So that's exciting. Then it's a chase scene. They're being chased by a car. There's machine gun fire. People being shot at them. They're using the environment to back people off, including making a fire truck blow up, which is a lot of fun. They finally get to higher ground, get away from the car. You think they escaped. Helicopter shows up. Now they got a helicopter shoot on them. They're running from that. Still moving around, doing all the gymnastics on the motorcycle. Have to jump the motorcycle. Eventually have to. And long story short, they end up diving under the blade as it's being used as a weapon and tying something to it.
Time. Okay. Let's move over to Rue. Rue, you have 1 minute to open your argument when you start talking.
The reason the action scene that results in Vesper Lynd's death in Casino Royale is the most exciting because it layers levels of excitement one on top of the other, starting from the call from M that the package has not been delivered. And now your emotional stakes and emotional excitement is in because you're like, oh shit, Vesper turned on him. So David Arnold's chaotic, great score kicks in, and you have this chaotic foot chase of him trying to find her through people. And then when she finds her, the music drops, your heart stops, and now it's a cat and mouse game, not only to find Vesper, but also to avoid people shooting him. And when he finally does find her, she gets held hostage, and now you're like, oh shit, okay, is he going to save her? Is he going to try to get the case? What is he going to do with her? And then that leads to when she runs away to a shootout in a building, which is a great James Bond shootout, which stakes and excitement up when he shoots a water bag in Venice. And now not only is water building up, but a building is crumbling down. So you have a ticking time bomb as he climbs up the shootout to a visceral hand to brick one-on-one. Vesper's trapped. She's dropped in the water, and you're like, is he gonna save her?
Time.
Don't know.
Don't know. Straight
Don't
from the record. Okay, gentlemen. 5-minute freeform.
Can I just ask real quick clarification? Where does your scene end?
After he takes her out, she's dead.
Okay.
Okay. 5-minute freeform. When one of you starts talking.
I'd say that your scene is pretty basic chase scene followed by a pretty basic shootout. I don't think there's a whole lot there that we haven't seen before. Maybe the emotional stakes are more at this point, but in the moment, we believe that Vesper has betrayed him, and she's just a bad guy now. So just like a million times we've seen before, where he has to go get the Bond girl that he thought was on his side, and now he's going to go catch her or kill her. So there's the emotional stakes aren't that high. And like I said, it's a foot race across the thing, and there's a shootout in the building, and we've seen that a lot. My scene, I think, helicopter versus motorcycle, we haven't seen. My scene's super intense, super fast, super fun. Tons of things going on, always amping up the violence and the stakes. Where yours, like I said, foot chase shootout, we're done.
I've never seen water flowing up a crumbling Venice building while James Bond rips a wire out of a building, electrocutes somebody, takes a nail gun, shoots a guy in the eye, takes a brick, hits him on it, then runs to Vesper's elevator where she's trapped. The love of his damn life, by the way, tries to get her out, even though she betrayed him because he doesn't know what to do. Then the elevator falls into the water, and as she's drowning, you're like, is she gonna die? Is she gonna leave? I don't know. And then when he opens the door, she passes out. He brings him up, and you're like, oh my God! After all of that, one after the other, she actually dies, and you're like, fuck. While in yours, all that stuff you mentioned, I couldn't help but notice, that the John Barry James Bond theme song is running throughout it, and it's running like half tempo because they are going 10 miles a fucking hour. There is not one out of your 4 minutes. There are only 2 scenes where the cars are actually in the same shot as the motorcycle. The rest of the 3 minutes, nobody is even near them. You don't feel the danger at all because you don't even see the guys behind them chasing. You never feel in danger. He has enough time to drive down an alleyway with her on it, stop, look at it, turn around, go all the way back down the alleyway until he can, until a safe place to turn with nobody in sight. And that's just the beginning of how slow and cool, but not exciting this looks.
Okay, if you want to talk about speed, if speed's your thing, they're going faster than anyone's going in yours the whole time. There's a moment you're seeing where James Bond is literally just walking down the street, sticks his head in the bank, and looks around. So if you want to talk about slow, speed is the issue. Mine has yours beat. Now, again, the John Barry, again, music, John Barry theme's playing, and it's playing at normal pace, and it's playing because they are going fast. Again, there are moments of, okay, stop. What happens next? And that builds up the tension. It's like, okay, they got that one thing, but what's next? How long they can sustain this? How long can they keep this up? And that is something that's constantly going on throughout the scene. It's not 1 million miles an hour the whole time. There is stop. Okay, we beat that. Now the next thing's coming. We got to figure that out. And so there's those little moments to build that tension up. As far as the water building, no, we have never seen a water building, a water fill up with a building filled up with water. Well, we have. We've seen the melting ice palace in Die Another Day. We've seen that. We've seen the building getting destroyed by fire in Quantum of Solace. We've seen the volcano base eruption. You only live twice. What I'm saying is we've never seen a building sink necessarily, but we've seen James Bond action in a building that's being destroyed. And the fact that the building's sinking doesn't really add that much more to it.
So we've never seen it before, or you mentioned all those things, but I don't think I've ever felt such claustrophobia when you're inside a small building and the water is coming up faster than your motorcycle is moving. Your motorcycle is supposed to be fast, and you want to say, how long could they keep this up? They could keep this up for 10 minutes, how slow they're moving in the point of view shot where they are at a crawl next to the people with the helicopter behind them because they can't move. You want to talk about that James Bond is walking, you just got the emotional gut punch of Vesper looking, and now you're like, okay, he has to actually try to walk as fast as he can, but not cause any trouble and find her. That is the emotional stakes and excitement at the beginning. And then it ramps up to the gunfight, the hand fight, the water, the elevator, the drowning. Is she going to die? Is she going to live? Your thing is moving so slow that they were able to look at the helicopter while the helicopter is doing a final boss video game thing. Slide, take a chain off, slide under it. Instead of somebody shooting them, they have enough time to get up, take it, throw it on the helicopter, and nobody shot him yet. It is a cool looking thing, but there is no sense of danger.
It's exciting. It's cool. It's fun. It's exciting. There is definitely a sense of danger. There's a bladed helicopter flying towards them. It's going to shoot through the helicopter blade, and they take the opportunity to go underneath, throw the banner on it, and blow it up. Huge explosion at the end. So exciting. So much more. You say you've never seen water? I barely saw water in this scene. During the shootout, you don't see the water. It's not affecting them at all. The sinking building is barely affecting anybody. They might be a little wobbly when they're walking, but it's not having any impact on the shootout, on the fight, anything going on. The water is not a factor in this fight at all. And you keep talking about my speed. Like I said, you get these different things where, they're on the ground, they're up high, they're jumping the helicopter, different things are happening, and it takes time to do all those things, but it's fun and exciting to watch.
Okay, Amaru, we're going to start with you. 1 minute to close when you start talking.
He shoots a water bag that causes a Venice building to crumble. I'm sorry, but if you think that's a puddle on the ground to make a building fumble, I don't know what water you didn't see as it was going up like an elevator. That helicopter stood there in that stance for a damn near a minute and watched James Bond and wait, do whatever the hell they want, including slide under. Your thing is cool to look at as they fly over it. But they stand in a damn building with nothing but beads. The helicopter comes down and the helicopter doesn't see them. You are knowing how long this can go because they're moving at such a slow pace. Nobody is ever in danger whatsoever. So you're like, this is cool, but it's not exciting. While Mines has the emotional stakes at the start and throughout. It builds up the action from foot chase to cat and mouse to shootout to hand-in-hand visceral ass combat with water blowing. She's trapped. She goes down. He dives in. She drowns. She passes out. Is she going to save him? She's going to not. None of that excitement happens in your slow-ass scene.
Slow-ass scene. Straight from the record. 1 minute to close for Kirk when he starts talking.
Thing Rue's trying to call exciting. Phone calls. Looking inside a bank. Someone doing CPR. These are exciting to Rue. These are things he pointed out as exciting for him. Mine. Helicopter chase. He's trying to make it sound like it's slow. They're riding on the building the entire time. They stop a few times to get their bearings, but that's even more exciting and more tension building because you're figuring out what's doing next. The water, for the sake of this argument, it is kind of a puddle. There's not much there. I also want to put out at the beginning that Li Wang and Bond's, their relationship here, I think something else exciting that we don't get in yours because she's not really involved is you get that beginning, that heat of between Wei Ling and Bond, and that makes it more exciting. It's always more exciting to see a relationship begin than it is to see a relationship end, as we're seeing here. And yeah, I just don't think that there's that much there. Like I said, you see walking, you see speed walking, you see shooting. You see guns. You see things like that. We've seen this a lot of times. We see water fill up in the ice castle, like I said, and die another day. It's all been done. My scene, helicopter versus motorcycle, constant speeds, constant action.
Okay. Let's bring in the judges. He thought about continuing. All right. Okay. Mark, you're kicking us off.
All right. Yeah. These are always kind of weird questions to ask. What's the most exciting? Because I feel like it almost every time we get to this, it's like, well, which scene I think just sounds like the most fun and probably is the most like impactful, and at least just going off of the argument, I feel like I gotta lean Rue here. Like I feel like he painted the better picture of his scene just being kind of the most thrilling, and just in general kind of the stakes being at their highest, and kind of we don't know who's gonna live, we don't know who's gonna die. Like it felt something that is something I'd more want to see.
Okay, Brian.
There's a lot of talk about speed in this, the speed of water, the speed of motorcycles, the speed of walking. So that kind of ended up kind of being a wash for me. It kind of balanced out for both of them. I actually went with Kirk on this one. I think that he did a good job. I mean, they both did a good job of supporting their own, but I think as far as the attacks, I think Kirk did a better job on his attack of, especially when he was talking about how, the water that kept getting talked about was not really a factor in the action parts of that scene. When she's drowning and things towards the end, the water was not really that much of an issue for the action. And Rue did a great job of explaining how, his scene has this, has this emotional gut punch to it. How it's a suspenseful moment where, they're going to drown. But as far as excitement of the action scene, which is the question, the exciting action, I had to go with Kirk.
Okay. I hate being the deciding factor, but I went with Amaru. Based on the arguments at hand, looking at it on paper, and I love Casino Royale. I really do. I think it's one of the best Bond movies, and I think Tomorrow Never Dies is a B-tier Bond film. But on paper, I was ready to give it to Kirk, and I thought that based on the arguments, I thought Rue's everything was perfect in this one. I thought he did a great job explaining why his scene was exciting. And to be fair, I thought Kirk's closing was very good when Kirk was like, phone calls, banks. This is what Rue finds exciting. Was beautiful. I loved it. I wanted to give him the point just based on that one thing alone, but I couldn't. I thought Rue played it really, really great the whole time. Kirk painted me a great picture of an exciting action scene. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think he didn't really do much for me in terms of taking down Rue's scene. I thought Rue did a great job. So I give that point to Rue, which means Rue is up 2-1. We are going to move on to your next question. This was drafted by Rue in the category of Wizarding World. Your question is, what is the best performance in a Harry Potter film? Rue, you get to kick this one off. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
In Half-Blood Prince, Tom Felton does something that we never thought we could see happen in 5 films. He pulls back emotional layers of emotion and humanity to a sniveling, conniving, cowardly, one-note bully in Draco Malfoy, and we made us feel empathy for him. We see him at Nocturne Alley at the beginning, and we're ready for him to be a bully. And then all of a sudden, there's something in his posture, in the fear behind his eyes, that even when he insults Harry, it's like, ooh, there's a facade there. And you see it even more in the train ride to Hogwarts where he says, I don't even want to go to Hogwarts next year. And you see that there's something going on because Tom Felton's performance is putting something in his body and his eyes and his language that makes it say he's no longer just a bully. There's something even more. And it peels back more and more in the arguments with Snape as he's trying to get through this impossible thing. And he has the anger coming out and the quick conversations with him, the absolute fear behind his eyes when the bird comes back from the vanishing cabinet and he sees that culminating in the absolutely incredible red-eyed crying face of I have to do this, I have to kill you or he's gonna kill me.
All right, let's move over to Kirk. Kirk, you have 1 minute when you start. Oh boy, when you start.
I went with probably the best actor in the franchise. I took Gary Oldman as Sirius Black in Order of the Phoenix. In a pretty limited amount of screen time, I think he completely fleshes out this character strictly through his performance. He's not given a ton to do in the script. It's all put on his shoulders as a performance. From the first moment you see him lay eyes on Harry, and you see in his face, you see the joy and the happiness of being reunited with Harry, but also you see those eyes drop as he realizes what Harry is about to be exposed to and what he's going to have to go through. And from there on out, throughout the entire movie, you see him and his feelings with Harry and his feelings for his friends in the past, and how his fear of facing Voldemort, the Dark Lord, again. You see the emotion and the pain and the suffering he went through as a child. You learn that all strictly through his performance. I think he brings so much to this role. Like I said, it's nothing that very little that he brings is on the page. I think this is all through his performance. We learn so much about him and his relationship with Harry, his relationship with his world.
Okay. Tom Felton versus Gary Oldman. Gentlemen, 5 minutes when one of you starts talking.
It's very funny you picked an actor who said himself that he has mediocre performances in Harry Potter. And when he said that, I was like, you got to be talking about Order of the Phoenix, because the same amount of time they have in both that and Prisoner of Azkaban, he is half-assing the performance he does in Prisoner of Azkaban, because you talked about fleshing out a character. Sirius Black is devious, childish, loving, caring, and desperate. And you see all of that in the same amount of time in Prison of Azkaban in just a poster shot. Then the half-ass, except for one scene, you get in Order of the Phoenix. There's more care in him saying you have love in your mother's eyes, or talking about living with him in that lake, than it is when he shows Harry that picture of the members of the Order of the Phoenix in there, because Gary Oldman has nothing to do in this movie, and he is half-assing everything, doing it a lot better in Prisoner of Azkaban, while Tom Felton is doing twice what he's done in 5 films, talking about, hey, he has to kill me, because it's such an emotional scene and a believable scene. To have Dumbledore die right after that, you feel everything that Tom Felton is doing.
I figured you try to take the cheap shot of the Gary Oldman quote. If you know anything about Gary Oldman, he is an eccentric perfectionist. Of course, he's going to say stuff like that. It doesn't change the fact that he is great in this movie. Tom Felton is making one face through the whole movie. He has 3 speaking scenes, and he's basically the same sniveling brat he was, just taller. He has a blank face. There's a scene in this movie where Sirius Black said to him, "You're afraid, Draco. You attempt to conceal it, but it's obvious." And that needs to be said out loud. He needs to be told that out loud, because he is not getting that done in the performance. Where Gary Oldman, everything he does, like I said, his relationship with Harry, just when he sits back, gives it that little half wink, tells you so much about how he feels. That moment where he yells at Creature, and he won't look at him, and his voice breaks, and you hear, and he just reverts back to that child. You hear that pain, everything that he's went through growing up. When he looks at that family tree portrait, and he sees himself burn out, and he talks about his mother, you see that, and it's so much there. It's his eyes. To say this is a half-ass performance is ridiculous. And if Gary Oldman half-ass is better than Tom Felton 100%.
I knew you would say that, because it's Gary Oldman, so of course it's okay. But first off, you say that they wouldn't give him the screen time. They gave Tom Felton the closest close-up in the most emotional scene of the entire film to deliver that emotion, because you feel it from somebody that is one note. You talked about, I don't know Gary Oldman. You have no idea who Sirius Black is. You get nothing devious from him. You get more deviousness in Prisoner of Azkaban when he says the fleas, the murder, than that half-ass wink, or him trying to be devious and sneak off and see Harry. Again, I already showed you where you get more care. You want to bring up a quote? There is a character building quote that is key to Sirius's character at the Department of Mysteries, where you find out he is actually still a child when he says, "Good one, James," fighting next to Harry. And that's supposed to deliver that, oh my God, Sirius Black still thinks he's with James. He doesn't realize he's the Godfather. And you don't even know that quote exists, because he delivers it in such a horrible way, while Tom Felton, again, gets the most memorable shot in the most emotional core of a movie, the close-up before everything happens, a one-on-one with Michael Gambon, because he's delivering the performance of a life.
Everybody around him is doing so much more in that scene. Like I said, I have to kill you. He's being Draco, the same Draco we've seen, just like I said, taller. Dumbledore, Snape, Harry, everyone around, even Beatrix, everyone around him is doing so much more. Like I said, we know what's going on with Draco, because he's being told. We're being told. They slap a bunch of pancake makeup on his face to make him pale, so we make him feel. But we see that he stands in front of the box with a blank face on him, and then he has a few little fits, and that's it. That is all he does. There's a scene in this movie where he's in one of the many scenes where he's just staring at the cabinet, And then they do this awkward thing where they cut away to a covered shot of it from a weird angle, and you hear him start to cry. And you think, oh, maybe this will be the moment where he really starts to reckon with what he's going on. And then it cuts. And I can't help but think they had to do that because even though that scene was necessary, Felton couldn't handle it. He couldn't pull it off.
You want to talk about people doing more than around him? The first actual scene he gets to talk, Harry is supposed to want to be with Sirius and be around Sirius, and he is done better by Brendan Gleeson telling him to shut up, by David Thewlis, who's the actual emotional parent in the thing in the scene, by Julie Walters, who tells Sirius stop, no, you, and by Mark Williams as his father, who's giving more of in a look of care than Harry than Gary Oldman is doing by sitting there with a small wink. You want to know why they didn't cut to him during that scene while he's crying? Because they cut to him later after the bird is death and have a close-up of him absolutely crying then and there. It's called build up and payoff.
He is not crying in that scene.
All right, we're going to start with Kirk for closings. Kirk, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
If I read the script for Half-Blood Prince, I would know every single thing I need to know about what's going on with Draco because it's told to me, either through what he says, what other people says, what people say around him, what people say about what he's experiencing. I would know everything. If I to fully experience Sirius Black in this movie, I have to watch the film because Gary Oldman is doing so much. That dinner table scene, yeah, there's a lot of talking going on, but you watch him, you see his face, you see as he deals with the reality of him and Harry having to face Dark Lord together. You see him twitch, you see his jaw set, you see these like subconscious twitches in his face. He's doing so much in that scene because he's carrying that weight. Like I said, when you see him with Harry and he has that emotion where, yes, it's almost like I'm reunited with my old friends and I'm so happy about that, but I also know what he has to go through and he's not that confident. At the end when he says, you did brilliant, you see the surprise in his face, like he really didn't know if Harry could pull it off, and he did. He carries that so much for Felton. He stands quietly, he spazzes out a few times, and that's it. It's a very weak role.
Okay. We're going to move over to Rue. Rue, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
Of course he thinks Gary Oldman did a great job fleshing out a character that he has no idea what it's like, because if you just watched Order of the Phoenix, you think you'd get that one great scene, and he's very caring of Harry. But where's the desperation? You don't get that desperation when he's fighting in the Department of Mysteries. Where's the childlike wonder and the mischief you get in Prisoner of Azkaban? You don't understand that because the key line that shows that is just brushed over because the delivery is so bad. The 1 out of 4 scenes, it does not make a great performance. All of what Kirk just brought up is about script and knowing everything you know about Draco. Well, Tom Felton had to carry that. He talked about fits. There's one fit in the movie in the bathroom when he's visually trying to curse Harry after he is crying there. The rest of it is in his eyes. The rest of it is holding that facade in. On the train when he's trying to be a badass. In front of Snape when he's trying to be a badass. At the beginning of the movie when he's trying to curse Harry. All culminating in the astronomy tower where he finally lets it all out. And he gets all the close-up, the emotional scenes to see that he is a child just in a desperate setting. And Tom Felton delivers it beautifully.
All right. All right. I'm ready. Are you guys ready?
Yep.
Okay. Interesting picks. Both good picks. Neither of the ones that I thought of when posing the question. A very simple question. I had a lot of other ones come, but they both surprised me, and they both gave me really good reasons why these performances were good. Ultimately, I went with Kirk. I think that Kirk just did I feel like a broken record, but Kirk did a really good job of breaking down Felton's performance. And I thought that on top of it, I thought both have been really strong in their defense in this game so far. I thought Kirk's was just a little bit better this time around. I thought that he did a really good job of kind of taking off the heat on that Rue was throwing at Gary Oldman, and really just kind of talked about everything he's doing in this movie that makes the performance so good. This was close, but I did have to go with Kirk. I thought he just had a couple points that were a little bit stronger. Mark, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, same, Kirk. Yeah, I feel like at the end of the day, I kind of gravitate a bit more to the argument of I feel like understand what Felton Malfoy is going through because we're kind of being told it throughout the movie. And I feel like I gravitated towards Kirk's argument of like, we are kind of learning who Sirius is throughout this through Sirius's performance, and because he doesn't really have a ton of time to do it, it makes that performance that much more impressive.
Okay, Brian, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, first clean sweep. I went Kirk as well. For me, I think that I don't know these movies very well, so I'm going strictly by everything that they're saying, of course. But for me, it came down to the attacks again, because I felt like when Rue was trying to attack Sirius, or Gary Oldman as Sirius, I think there was a lot of talk of how good he was in Azkaban, or how good other actors were, and not as many attacks on his performance in that film.
Okay. All right. Kirk wins the point. We are all tied up 2-2, which means we are moving to the bonus round. But before we go to the bonus round, we are going to go to the fifth question of the prep round. And that question was drafted by Kirk in the category of actors and actresses. Question is, which 1970s Al Pacino film is the most rewatchable? Kirk, you're kicking it off. 1 minute when you start talking.
I think the only real answer to this question is The Godfather. I chose The Godfather. This is a saga that covers an entire decade of the life of an immigrant crime family and their multi-generational experience as they change and the world changes around them. This movie spans America coast to coast and crosses the Atlantic Ocean to Europe. It features deeper and layered performances from Brando, Pacino, Caan, Duvall, Keaton, Cazale, and others. Thematically and character-wise, it's open to watch with different perspectives and interpretations, and that create different viewing experiences. There are tons of supporting characters and subplots that you can go back and rewatch and look at and spend more time paying attention to. And there's just so much depth to it. I think Rue's biggest argument is going to be the length, but I think the length is what makes it so much rewatchable, because it's such a huge flowing story. There's no real fat on the bone. It's all meat, and there's just so much meat on that bone to chew onto that you can keep going back and back again and find something new every time.
Okay, we're going to move over to Amaru. Amaru, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
I watched Godfather for the first time this weekend because as a kid, every time I wanted to watch it, I come into a scene that just seemed like boring setup. And when I finally watched it all the way through, I saw how the deliberate, detailed pace made this the greatest movie of all time. But it also proved to me that there's no way I'm rewatching this movie that has 1 hour of absolutely amazing, breathtaking, quotable scenes smashed into 2 hours of boring ass setup. Unlike my movie, Dog Day Afternoon, which is a 2-hour tight script that has the most interesting Pacino performance I've ever seen, starting with a 40-minute comedy of error robbery that is absolutely hilarious. And once you want to learn about every single character, not just Pacino and Casal, that moves into then building from their characters, you learn that Pacino was robbing this place because he has a wife and a husband, and it's for a sex chain. I didn't see that coming. And you are so enthralled with them and the women around them that are so absolutely hilarious in there, with the cop that argues with them from beginning to end, building and building to see whether or not they're going to get away with it, and learning it's a real life story. You want to go back and see all of that.
I just realized we're talking about John Cazale. I'm scared. Okay, guys, 5-minute freeform. What did you start?
I don't think we're gonna say anything bad about him. Rue, yeah, I mean, if you would talk about the slow paces in Godfather, that don't really exist, but if you say that they're fine, yeah, great 40-minute setup of yours. Your movie drags towards the end. Once it gets dark out and they start deciding to move on, things slow down. After he talks to Leon, that's a strong scene. But then he talks to his wife and he talks to his mom, and it takes on. This is it's about 2 hours and 10 minutes long. It's not a breezy watch, and for a single location movie, it starts to drag after a little bit.
I don't care about the length. I love Two Towers, Return of the King, and I rewatch it all the times. But every single one of the movies I love, there are always specific parts where you're like, all right, this drags a little, but I'm okay. That happens in Dog Day in the Night. But then once they get back into the van, that's about a good, what 15 minutes you're talking about? And to the end of the movie, you are so enthralled with these characters. You want to know what happens. And then once you do that, you want to go back and kind of see how they got there and how they interacted with yours. The only way I'm watching Godfather is I'm pressing play and I'm looking for the scenes. And I say, hey, is the restaurant scene there yet? No, it's still the 10 minutes of that hospital scene where they moving Vito, but nothing ends up happening. So I can go make some lunch. Oh, has Sonny got shot yet? No, Connie's still getting her ass beat. I don't want to watch that. I can go check my phone. Oh, has Vito already died? I got a full hour that drags of Las Vegas shit that I don't care about up until what's his face lies to Kay. Many great scenes, but I have to sit between 10 minutes of wedding processions, 30, a good 5 minutes of that damn newspaper montage that I don't want to see, in the baptism montage before anything happens. I cannot deal with that. There's only 15 minutes you can talk about in Dog Day Afternoon, and I can sit in those 15 minutes while I watch the rest of that time.
Rue, you're proving my point. You know why you don't like all that stuff yet? You haven't watched it enough. Go back and watch it again. You're gonna find. I promise you, you're gonna find things in there. If you with an open mind go back and look at it, you're gonna find things in there. So you say, "Oh, look at that! What that character did." Go back and look at this. You know, there's little things you can do, like with Clemenza and Tessio, knowing how they end up. You go back and you rewatch it, and you see how they react to things and how their stories are kind of building. With Kay and Michael at the beginning, you know, that scene, it's so great because there's I always watch that as, oh, hey, you know, Michael's embarrassed of his family and he's, you know, unwillingly telling her. Someone said to me one time, no, he's not embarrassed. He's bragging. He's bragging about his famous, deadly, sexy family. And I watch it that way, and it was a whole new movie, a whole different experience, the whole perspective change. And there's so many examples in this movie that you can go back and watch. So if you go back and watch it with an open mind, I promise you, you are going to find those things. You just haven't watched enough yet.
You are trying to convince me to force me to watch a movie and scenes that I have seen 2 to 3 times from ages 7 to 17. And I finally said, I cannot have this blind spot. Let me watch it. You know what? This is brilliant. But I don't want to try to sift through the 2 hours of setup to find the things you're talking about. Why do I need to watch a movie 4, 5, 6, 7 times to find 5, 6, 7 different performances and learn more about them and waste 3 hours every time? I don't want to do that. I'm going to go watch the clips where it's Dog Day Afternoon. You don't have to convince me to sit down with an open mind. I want to see Pacino have a damn blast with Cazale and all those women and Carol Kane. I want to see him have that great conversation with the Oscar-winning supporting actor role with Leon. I want to see how it ends again because it's so enthralling. And when it gets dark, I'm like, all right, cool. I got a little bit of time to breathe, but then I'm going to come back with yours. I have to pick and choose who I'm going to follow and wait 2.5 hours to get to those parts.
Again, you're not giving enough. Just your movie. You're doing a really good job of convincing me why you should watch Dog Day Afternoon. You're not telling me why I need to rewatch it. You know, like I said, there's that twist in the middle. You find out why he's doing the bank. You go back and watch it. There's no real meat there to say, oh wow, look at these things. It doesn't change anything once you know the twist. You just know it. It doesn't do anything. It is a good movie. I mean, there's a good performance. I think if you want to talk just watching performances, I think mine has a lot great. I mean, I have a Pacino, I have a Cazale, but I also have Brando, I also have Conn, I also have Duvall. I have this endless list of great stars, great supporting characters as well. And again, you can go back and watch all these. Again, your movie, I've rewatched both these movies a lot of times. Your movie gets a long in the tooth. Every time I watch Godfather, it gets richer and richer. Every time I watch Dog Day, I'm like, I don't know when I need to watch this again because I've seen it all.
I want to rewatch it because there are great, entertaining characters you love, hilarious quotes you want to get to. And I have more entertainment with lesser named actors than your long list of people that I have to say, how long before I get to Khan again? How long before I get to Pacino again? Oh, I got this the first time. So now I got to wait through all of this Sicily stuff with Pacino to get back to the other ones I missed the first time or the second time or the third time. When every time you go back to Dog Day Afternoon, it is so tightly written and so beautifully performed that you get to see it and enjoy all of them at the same time throughout the 2 hours and 2 hours and 5 minutes without having to pick and choose over 3 hours who I'm going to pay attention to.
You're doing it wrong.
All right. Doing it wrong. Strike it from the record. We are going to close first with Rue. I had to think about that for a second. Amaru, you're closing first. You get 1 minute when you start talking.
If somebody wants to convince me to rewatch a movie, not even once, but more than once, I do not want somebody to say, hey, look, have an open mind. This time you get to look at this character within the 3 hours. Then this time you need to look at this character because there's so much going on. You don't really go back to him for another 20 minutes. Or you can look at it this time with this thought process after I talk to you about how to deal with going into this movie. I'm not trying to have a homework assignment when I rewatch a movie. I'm trying to sit down, enjoy all the characters I love, the amazing acting performances. Sure, there might be a scene that I have personally picked out in every one of my personal movies I've ever loved, including like Inception, my favorite of all time, where I know I hate the Mao scene when she's talking to Elliot Page, but I get through it because I love watching the whole movie without having to think about it. That's what happens in Dog Day Afternoon. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to enjoy the rise, the fall, and then the end that makes me feel like, man, that was such fun to go watch everybody all at once. I'm not trying to sit through 3 hours to figure out who am I penciling in for my next homework assignment for this movie this time.
All right, let's move over to Kirk. Kirk, you have 1 minute to close when you start talking.
Rue's calling it homework. I call it a joy and a pleasure, and I think most people do. If Rue wants to shut himself off to this, that's on him. That's his choice. But you go in. He's trying to make Sicily and Vegas and all these things sound like a bad thing. They're their own little kind of condensed stories that take place through it. That's why the movie is so well paced, and you don't feel that length because you're moving through all these different segments. He talked about quotes. Godfather, obviously very quotable. Entertaining scenes. I mean, that wedding scene, all the different family and things you see are so great. Rue's trying to sell like, oh, it's so boring that you have to do this. No, you want to. And every time you watch it, the experience is so much more richer and you get so much more out of it. Where Dog Day, should you watch it once? Yes. Do you need to watch it twice? No. Godfather, do you need to watch it a second time? Do you need to watch it a third time to really get everything? Is there more for you when you go back? Yes, there absolutely is. In the characters, in the themes, in the story, trying to figure out who's doing what and why. Where Dog Day wears itself on its sleeve. You get everything you get the first time. Watch it once, you're good. Godfather, you can watch forever.
Okay. Who boy. Good shit, gentlemen.
Great match, Kirk. Great match.
Great job, man.
It's not over, so.
No, it's not. But it's the regular one.
Great regulation time.
Whoa. Okay. Mark, what are you drinking?
Are all the votes registered?
Yes.
Okay, that hurt.
Yeah, I figured it did. It didn't help that your episode of Round 4 just aired, and like we literally talked about your favorite movie of all time. Okay, Brian, I believe you are starting us on this one.
Yeah, this came down to kind of needing to rewatch versus wanting to rewatch, and all kind of argument with that. And I know when Kirk started talking about how, you rewatch this film and, it's because you need to rewatch it more because every time you watch it, you'll find new things and this will make sense. You'll pick up on new stuff. And my first thought was like, you shouldn't have to force yourself to rewatch. It's like somebody who says like, trust me, stick through the first season and a half and then the series gets really good. It's like, I don't want to force myself to watch that. But, I have a lot of times in debates like this where I think things like that, but I'm like, I can't take that in consideration because it's not said. But then Rue went off. He did the exact same thing, and he kind of talked about that. He did end up getting my vote because I think he did a great pitch as to, you shouldn't have to, feel like you have to watch a movie more than once to catch all these things. I mean, yes, you can catch new things when you do, but with Dog Day Afternoon, you want to rewatch it. You want to get to these moments. It is such a tight script. It is, this comedy of errors, as he described, things like that. And so for me, that just, was the better pitch for me as far as which to rewatch.
Yeah, I'm very curious to find out after the fact if everything Rue said is actually how he feels about this movie, or if
He's lying like Kirk.
I'll tell you that now. It is 100%. Both are amazing, but I would not want to watch Godfather again.
That's fair. I love both of these movies. These are both very, very good 5 out of 5 movies for me. So I was loving this. They were both saying nice things about movies I like. Ultimately, I was kind of flipped from Brian. I did go with Kirk. I thought that I was thinking about Kirk. They went from it in different ways, and Kirk does this a lot, where he doesn't necessarily reinterpret the question, but he just goes at it from an angle that I don't really think about. And I agree with Brian that Rue's I don't want to have to do homework thing, it made me laugh. I enjoyed that point quite a bit. That being said, I think Kirk did a good job of saying, which I know in real life he doesn't agree with, but of saying, should you see Dog Day Afternoon? Yes. But the things in there's nothing in there that makes it rewarding when you rewatch it. And I felt like the way that Kirk took the question surprised me. Because again, on paper, Dog Day Afternoon, it's a shorter movie. Length is a lot to do with rewatching stuff. But he kind of put it into perspective, and Rue actually, again, it's not his fault, but he brought up Middle Earth, and those movies are endlessly rewatchable to me, and they're long. And I thought Kirk, taking that of being watching something just because it's long doesn't mean you can't rewatch it over and over again and find something new in different scenes every time. I wasn't expecting that to come out of his mouth when he did, when he was like, Rue, you're making the argument for me. That's not what I expected, and it worked for me. So Mark, you're deciding who is going in with the lead into the speed round.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've seen both of these movies exactly one time.
Oh,
so I'm not sure if either of these.
Which one are you going to rewatch, Mark?
Yeah, I don't know. Which, before I do, I will say, good job, Ruin. Taking Kirk's favorite movie ever and making him argue against it. Nice one there. They go with Kirk though. I guess it didn't exactly work. But yeah, I kind of agree with Tim here for in this purpose of kind of whenever we bringing up what makes it rewatchable, where I think Kirk kind of had a moment in that question that just kind of stuck with me, when he said, Rue, you're making a good argument to why I should watch Dog Day Afternoon, not necessarily why I should rewatch it. And I feel like that kind of stuck with me throughout the entire thing, and especially when he brings up The Godfather, even though where there are things that you find in The Godfather going back several times. And ultimately, I feel like in plenty of movies that what makes them rewatchable is for that exact reason. When you go back and just find stuff every single time you watch it. And that kind of loomed loomed large. I don't even know if that's the right way to say it. Of whenever he brought up Dog Day Afternoon, of if you've seen it once, you've seen it. And that is just the movie.
Okay. So Kirk takes the lead 3-2 going into the speed round. Now here's how it's going to work. I randomized the two sides of Fanzone that this question is going to come from. There's two questions prepared should we need them in case it gets tied up after the first question. But the first side that was randomized I'm not going to say it yet. What am I doing? I randomized the sides, which was going to go first, which was going to go second, then randomized the categories that weren't used in the main round. Got a question for you based off of each specific category in each specific side of Fanzone. You are each going to get 45 seconds to open and 30 seconds to close. What am I? Oh, whoever says their answer first is going to go first. You guys fucking know how this works. Do you have any questions, John?
No.
Okay. The first side of Fanzone that was drafted was War Generals May Zone. It was the general movie side. And the category that was drafted, randomized, was Oscars.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm going to put the question in the private chat so you guys can see that. Your question is, what is the best picture winner of the 21st century? Again, what is the best picture winner of the 21st century?
Parasite.
Okay, Parasite.
I will say Oppenheimer.
Okay, Parasite versus Oppenheimer. I am going to cam off, kiss my wife goodnight, and then we will get started. All right. Parasite versus Oppenheimer. I'm going to take Brian and Mark out. I'm going to stay on screen. Rue, you spoke first, so you get 45 seconds on the clock for the question. What is the best picture winner of the 21st century when you start talking?
There's so many answers to this, but all of those movies have small niche issues. But if you say that there's something you don't like about Parasite, you don't like movies. It is the most unique movie. It is brilliantly acted from front to back. It is definitely directed. It takes a big risk, but it doesn't go off the rails and handles it beautifully, making you even feel more surprised after you are surprised with what was coming. It handles the ending beautifully, not making it too long, too short. You are invested in the entire family. You're invested in the family that's being conned. You're invested in the con family. Then you're invested in the entire surprise family that comes up. And you're like, what the fuck is this? I am totally in. Holy shit. They just killed somebody in a movie that was just about conning people. Could that really have happened? And you absolutely love every single second of it because Bong Joon-ho won the Oscars for a reason. He directed, wrote, and paced this out with beautiful acting, beautiful everything. There is not an issue with Parasite. Everything else has at least one.
Okay, Kirk, 45 seconds when you start talking.
I think Oppenheimer does the best of both worlds and what we think about what we want from movies in general and also what we want from Oscar winners. I think there's spectacle. You have this huge world-changing event of the nuclear bomb being made. You have this great special effects around that. But also it's a very personal story about the man who did that. And you have the drama of his life and what he went through and the women and the people in his life and how that affected. You have this fantastic ensemble cast. It covers all this time, the two different time periods, the cinematography of the black and white versus the color and the way they deal with time, and Robert Downey Jr. and everybody in this is so great. And I think it's just such a great movie that handles drama and like personal drama and just worldwide historic events and blends them seamlessly.
Time. Rue, 30 seconds.
The most important hurdle Nolan needed to jump to make a perfect movie was connecting to his characters. That was always the thing that went against it. And he got 90% of the way there because you love these characters. But the most important part of Oppenheimer's life that shapes him is his relationship with Florence Pugh's character. And Florence Pugh leaves like she is just left on the floor without any kind of depth. And that connection that connects him to his wife, that connects him to his life, that connects you to him is left wanting. And you just want that little piece while Parasite is perfect in every single way, no matter what way you slice it.
Time. Kirk, 30 seconds.
Okay, Rue is on record saying the only thing wrong with Oppenheimer is one character is not in it long enough. Meanwhile, you have this entire great ensemble cast to make up for that. So many people in it. So if that's the only flaw, I think we're okay. The problem with Parasite is it does start out with this family drama, and then you get that surprise, you get the twist, and it becomes all about those twists and all about that quirkiness and the weirdness, and it's too much. And that's what you remember. You don't remember like the deep, heartfelt moments. You just remember, oh, that was kind of weird, that was kind of freaky, and you don't remember exactly what the movie's about. That's the wrong thing. Oppenheimer, otherwise perfect.
Okay.
Híjole.
I gotta think about this for a second.
This is the worst. This is the worst part.
Okay. You guys both ready?
Sure.
I think we're to Mark, yes?
Mhm.
Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, we are? Oh.
Mark's like, fuck.
Mark, he's going first, last, or second. He just
I was prepared to go last, so yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, I did go last one. That's right. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Like this is pretty close. I like there really wasn't a ton to go on here. I feel like we kind of cover most of the bases. I think I leaned Kirk on this one. It's I feel like it. I feel like I just kind of went with the one character. Oppenheimer has a great ensemble. It's a good marriage between real life drama and the historical events. I think just it kind of narrowed out kind of the at least what Parasite was.
Brian.
as much as I hate debating speed rounds, I think I hate judging them more because you have to try to, to debate, you just got to say stuff. To judge it, you got to try and explain, essentially a coin flip, what you decided. Which this one really was. It was close. I went with Rue on this one. I think that I think it came down for me to not as much how they were debating as far as what they were debating. Because I think Rue went a little bit more into, the filmmaking behind his movie and how the director so definitely handled these twists and surprises and the risk that could have gone off the rails, but everything worked in addition to the plot and looking beautiful and everything. And Kirk said a little bit of like cinematography in that, but otherwise he was pitching mostly the story of it. And so again, when I had to find something to grasp onto, that's just what I went with.
Yeah, this was tough. It took me a while to think about it. I thought through, I think every hit. Lots of pros on both sides, frankly, on this one. I thought that Rue did a really great job of hitting why Parasite is so good. I love it. I think it's phenomenal. I think he did a really good job of pointing out exactly everything about it that makes it so great. And I thought that Kirk perfectly encapsulated everything that Oppenheimer did, in the sense of like it's big spectacle, but it's also like real life drama and Oscar bait bullshit, and it melds it perfectly. So it came down to those little hits against the other person's movie. And Kirk went against Parasite, saying it's a thing that you don't necessarily like there's that twist in there and it's weird and that's kind of what you remember, but you don't remember much else about the movie. And Rue kind of went against it, being like the best part, the thing that you want the most from of the movie is the relationship there. That's what formed Oppenheimer as a person, and you don't get a lot of it. And the one that kind of won it for me there was Kirk. I thought that Kirk saying like, you know, we got all this other shit in the movie. One character falls a little bit flat for you, okay, but you don't really remember what's going on in Parasite at the end of the day. And this was one of those moments where I had to self-reflect, and I've seen both of these movies 5-6 times a piece, and I'm like, when I think about it, Kirk's right. I do remember less of what's going on. I remember the big twist, whoa moments of Parasite well more than the everything else and all the other stuff that's good about it. So I went with Kirk, which means your winner and still Fanzone debate champion is Kirk Kowalkowski. We are going to quick talk to the other judges. I just want to get quick thoughts. Brian, Mark, whichever one of you wants to say something first. This was crazy. What did you guys think? Brian, go ahead.
I do think it was a great match. It's funny because I think I voted for Rue like I think 2/3 of the time, and you two voted for Kirk 2/3 of the time. But the weird thing is like I listened to what everybody said, and I didn't disagree with anything the judges said. So I think it's just a matter of different people kind of latch on different things and what kind of swings their vote, and so I find that very interesting. But I mean they're great debates. I think Rue will be back in a title shot eventually. Well, he already has a title shot in his pocket. So it's just a matter of, does he want to use it against Kirk again at some point? He's going to wait till somebody else and then go after them. I don't know which one will motivate him more, but it'll be great to see both these guys in the future.
Mark, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, sometimes it's tough being up here just because, sometimes you got a match. It's like we're watching a tug of war. Except, the flag is not really moving all that much. It's just going from one direction to the other, like by inches. And I think Kirk just got a few more of those inches today. I think Rue gave Kirk some really good shots here today. Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. Euphemism, guys.
That's fair. We're going to go into post-match interviews. Let's start by talking to Rue. Rue, this is another match against Kirk. I think this was one that was really strong for you. There wasn't a moment. There are a lot of moments there are a lot of matches where they end and I say to myself, it was pretty even all the way. But the person who won, it's pretty clear. This is not one of those moments. This is a moment where, in the point that, again, Brian kind of pointed it out, in the point that I gave you, I thought you handedly won. Every other point was really close. It came down to the wire. I think this is one of those matches where, just a couple extra seconds maybe at the end of certain debates gets you a point. It's tough because it's all, the subjective, but that's the game. How are you feeling after this one?
My biggest frustration outside of losing is that I basically had the exact same match that I had last time. I thoroughly thought I won that last match, or at least won the rounds that I lost a couple of them last time. There wasn't one that I was like, wow. Except the Flow one. I thought he handedly whooped me on that one, and y'all gave it to me. So, that was the one coming in. I knew that is going to be the toughest one to do, and he had me on my heels the whole time. And then I guess I'm good enough. When y'all voted for me, it's like, oh, I guess I did say that, but I did not feel that. He had me on my heels, 100%. The rest of them, I was like, they could go either way. I didn't think the Harry Potter one was a clean sweep, but if I say they could go either way, that means anything can happen. So I get it.
Sure.
Every single last one of them, including that speed round, I'm like, I don't know who's winning this and who isn't. And I just wanted to get to that second one, just like I wanted to get to the second one last time. So just frustration of technically landing at the same spot, because also last time I took an early lead. on a question that I was very surprised that I won. And then he took 2 in a row to the speed round. And then I was like, I could get this to the second one. And I didn't. And it feels like the exact same space. So that's a little frustrating, not feeling overall like I took a step closer.
Sure. Rue, we've said it. You have a title shot in your pocket. Unfortunately, Brian, might not be in the know. I feel like I've told you this, Rue. If I haven't, you're learning it now. Your title shot, we know when you're going to use it. It doesn't matter who the champion's going to be. It's going to be the first match after the Survivor Season 2 break. When we come back from the Fanzone break in the middle of the year, you're going to come back, and the first match after that is going to be you challenging whoever. So there are 2 more title shots before that. So Kirk is going to go up against someone in another title match soon, but there's 1 more after that. So it could be Kirk. It could be one of the 4 people in the picture we have going on, or it could be a tournament of people, which could include yourself. So what do you think? Like, do you want to get over the hump that is Kirk? Do you want to maybe hopefully have somebody else in that title shot? Or who knows? I could just be speaking out of my ass and you could be in that. You could be the champion, and then it's a moot point. So
can he then debate himself? Is that?
The kid.
I have a video somewhere online of me talking to myself. I swear I do. It's there. Go look at reviews. It's there.
But what do you think about? You want it to be Kirk, or what do you think?
Kirk. It's Kirk. Like, I've debated him 3 times. I have lost 3 times. There's one other I have people after Kirk. And aside from Kirk, there's one other person I've always wanted to debate, but he's not debating right now. So it's Kirk. I need to get over that hump. And then I need to play him again because, like, it's the same feeling I have over at Fandom. I have 2 people that I cannot get over. I have 1 guy I cannot get over. And even if I beat them eventually, it's like, I need you to hurry up, come back so we can do this again. Because even though they all feel close, neither of them got to the final question. So, like, I need more final questions. I need to get this champion. This is the one I want. Like, I want all of them. But this is the one I've been wanting since the beginning. Because, again, I believe I'm better than everybody, and I will continue to say that. So.
That's fair. Amaru, I think it was a great performance. We'll see you for sure in that title match later in the year. But we could see you even earlier than that. We'll see. We've got to see how the seedings land. But we'll see you soon, no matter what. Rue, thanks for being here. Let's bring in the winner, still the champion, Kirk Kowalkowski. Kirk, you always seem to look relieved when the match is over. I guess you look relieved if I yell your name. But this time you looked especially relieved. Did you not think you were going to win that question? Like, what was your thought process in that last one there?
I will say everything that Rue said. I'll repeat that. There was not a point in this where I felt, oh yeah, I got this. And it wasn't because I wasn't confident in my debate, because every debate I pretty much said everything I wanted to say, but Rue was just right there with me every minute. And so yeah, I was confident in what I said, but again, Rue did a really good job. You know, there's a lot of matches where I'll be like, oh man, I don't know about this because I kind of sucked and I screwed this. I should have said this. I didn't have that. It was just both arguments were so good every time. Yeah. So I was, yes, to answer your question, yes, I was extra relieved. I did not want it to come down to that final speed round. I wanted to get it over with. And so yeah, it was a huge relief to pull that off.
All right, Kirk. There's a lot going on in the champion belt of Fanzone debate this year, but unlike Rue, you don't have the luxury of just getting that auto reshot right away. You're close, but you don't have it yet. Mm-hmm. Rue will be back in a title match very soon, but so will you. But you don't get to pick who you're going up against, and this is your shot. This is what you got. I'm gonna give it to you straight. These are the people in the picture, and I want you to tell me what you want. You've got awkward Cameron Holtzman, Nazario Montenegro, Jacoby Bancroft, and Brian Michaels. Those are the 4 people in the next picture. Who do you want?
I don't know. I've played them all before. I guess me and Brian are 1-1 now, right?
That's correct.
So we should probably have the rubber match for that.
I agree. Let's skip the build up. Let's just do it.
Let's go right now. No.
But no, let me just say before we cut out, Rue Rue's amazing. And I talk about all the time what a big fan of Rue I am. He does, I love winning. I hate seeing Rue lose. I see that look on his face, and I hate being the one that put it there because he did do enough to win this match. I think he is good enough. He is good enough to be champion. So I'm glad he has that title match. He deserves it, and he'll be back. And I think eventually he will get there. And Rue's not going to make excuses. I'll say this for him. I know he's had a lot going on the past couple weeks, and he's had this match. He's got a Melee Teams match coming up also against me. He had a title match in Fandom. So the guy's been busy, and he's got a lot on his plate. So, I'm afraid to come back when he can fully focus on just this. And not that he wasn't focused and didn't do his best, but when he doesn't have all that stuff bogging him down, it's going to be tough. But I'm glad. The one thing I did do with this is my goal with this championship was to get at least one defense so I can get that solo defense record back. So I have that now, and whatever happens now is just gravy.
Beautiful. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, that's true. Kirk, congrats on the win and the defense. We will see you very soon with the next title match. But that's going to do it for us today at Fanzone Debate. Next week, we have Adelaide Spence going up against Brooklyn Vale. And then the week after that, we got Brian Michaels going up against Jacoby Bancroft. So the start of that title picture, that's Brian Michaels. If you didn't know, that's him. That's him right there. He's going to play Jacoby. It's going to be crazy. We will see you guys very soon with the next match. But thank you to Kirk. Thank you to Rue. Thank you to Mark. And thank you to Brian. And thank you to everybody who watches and makes the show run. We appreciate you. We love you. We'll see you next time on another episode of Fanzone Debate. Bye.
There we go. Thanks a lot. Come again.
Hey. I won't forget what you've done for me here today.
I would prefer that you do.